More than 3 years have passed since our last African adventure, and in all likelihood, this may be our final one. The reason's simple. We're getting older, time is running out, and our bucket list is growing longer. With that said, Fred and I want to thank you for letting us share with you this incredible experience. While doing research for this trip to Africa, I was intrigued by a local attraction situated on the outskirts of Nairobi. The David Sheldrick Wildlife Trust is an elephant orphanage and is the home to hundreds of baby elephants who are rescued each year throughout Kenya. To understand why such an organization even is necessary, one must first understand the genesis of the problem. Each year, thousands of these majestic creatures are slaughtered by greedy, profiteering poachers who see the elephants' ivory tusks as their sole source of income. As technology becomes more sophisticated, so does the ability of the poacher to achieve their endgame. From the early days of poison-tipped arrows to today's use of helicopter gunships and chainsaws, poachers are wreaking havoc on the animal kingdom. Today, when visiting national parks all across Africa, visitors see paramilitary-equipped park rangers whose sole job it is to put an end to poaching. Their rules of engagement are very simple. Shoot on sight. Founded 40 years ago by Dr. Daphne Sheldrick, the Wildlife Trust claims a rich and deeply rooted family history in wildlife and conservation, and is recognized globally as one of the most successful animal orphan rescue programs anywhere. Visitors and residents alike queue up daily for the opportunity to experience these wonderful creatures as they are nursed back to good health. Each day, the elephants leave their stalls for their midday feeding and mud bath. It's as if the bell to recess has just rung, and the herd of baby elephants thunderously make their way down to the public feeding zone. The keepers make sure that each elephant receives their proper allotment of milk, and it doesn't take long for these toddlers to learn how to feed themselves. After their meal, it's time for a little recreation, and just like human kids, these playful pachyderms love to get dirty. While this might seem like kids just having fun, wallowing in the mud and spraying themselves with dirt is really a natural part of elephant survival. This is how the elephants protect their skin from the harsh African sun. After the public feeding has finished, the keepers lead our merry band of orphans back into the bush, where they continue to learn about what it's like to be an elephant. The keepers live with the elephants around the clock, providing their nutritional sustenance every 4 hours. In essence, they become their surrogate parents. But unlike real parents, the keepers rotate their attention to different elephants every 24 hours. This reduces the possibility of establishing a long-term commitment with any one keeper.
I also like to suck on our fingers.
Yeah.
That makes them feel comfortable.
It's like a pacifier. Right? Yeah.
But as we have all come to realize, elephants have a long and indelible memory, and on many occasions develop strong bonds with particular keepers. Clearly a very human quality. And like clockwork, 4 hours flew by, and it's mealtime once again. As we sit back and watch as these elephants are enjoying their new life, we can only hope that the poachers will experience their just reward, and the elephants will live and grow old the way nature intended.
We are at the David Sheldrick Elephant Orphanage. The cutest elephants. The one that came over to me was only a year old, and you got to kind of pet them on the head. They are adorable. And then some of them get mad at each other and start bumping each other. So this is a really cool place. I can't do it as good as you.
Many Americans visiting Africa on safari do so from their plush, sterile surroundings of their Western-style hotel. Unfortunately, they will be missing much of what the Dark Continent has to offer. For the next 2.5 weeks, Fran and I will be living and sleeping amongst nature, situated deep in the African bush. But it's not what you think. We're not going to be sleeping in cheap tents, eating roasted insects, or doing our daily business behind an adjacent tree. We are going glamping. The word glamping blends the words glamorous and camping together to create a completely new genre of outdoor activity. Glamping has become increasingly popular over the last several years. Yes, we will be staying in tents, but these are not your run-of-the-mill Army surplus sweat shacks. These tented cottages are built on solid elevated platforms and include ensuite toilet and shower facilities, incredibly comfortable queen and king-size beds, and they're all wrapped in luxurious Egyptian cotton sheets. And best of all, you get to fall asleep listening to the sounds of the hippos and the occasional roar of a lion, and then wake up totally refreshed to some of the most spectacular views on the planet. In the evening, following your dinner, or just hanging out at the bar with the other glampers, it eventually will be time to head back to your tent. You'll be escorted by camp security, and for us it was a Masai warrior. Glamping in wilderness camps are safe, but don't be stupid. Fences are few and far between, and it's quite common for wild animals, even predators, to visit the camp at night. Remember, we're the ones trespassing. So remember and follow rule number 1. Once you are in your tent at night, you stay there. While our glamping experience thus far has been outstanding, into our dreams some crap must fall. Ndutu was one such place. Perhaps we were just exhausted, maybe just out of sorts, or in Fran's case, the sickest she's been in 30 years. But the second we rolled up to this camp, we knew, no way are we spending 3 nights here. We knew something was amiss. Ndutu was not like other places we've stayed. Fran nailed it when she said this place looked more like a mobile Army surgical hospital than a luxury tenting experience. There was no official greeting, no cool native drink, no cool refreshing towel to wipe the dust from our eyes. My God, what have we gotten ourselves into? But as it turned out, Ndutu was designed to be exactly what we encountered, a mobile safari camp and not a permanent facility. As the migration patterns changed, so did the camp's location, and what the guests gave up in creature comforts were more than made up in incredible animal sightings. After a refreshing hot shower, we walked across the camp to the dining tent, where we learned that Fran and I were the only guests staying at this camp. But to our surprise, the staff treated us like we were royalty, and pouring drinks from an open bar didn't hurt either. The next day, Rhino Africa came through as we knew they would. They booked us into a new camp called Kubu Kubu, located on the western edge of the Serengeti, about a 5-hour drive from where we were. We rolled into Kubu Kubu around 2 o'clock in the afternoon. By that time, Fran wanted to die, and I just wanted a cold beer. Jambo, Jambo!
How are you? You're welcome.
Asante, Asante.
Asante-san. Something cold?
Something beer.
You want beer?
I want a beer.
Okay.
Hello there.
Hello.
How are you?
Hot and tired.
Okay.
Oh,
Right.
oh, this feels so good.
I hope you
Now it's time for a beer.
A beer? What beer?
Yes.
You want Serengeti?
Serengeti, perfecto.
Okay.
Thank you.
Karibu.
All was good because I got my cold beer, and Fran, who our gracious hosts referred to as Mama, told her to go to our tent, relax, and they were going to bring her something that would make her feel much better. That something turned out to be a hot African tea steeped in fresh ginger and honey. The tea, combined with a well-needed nap, made Fran feel 1,000% better within a couple of hours. Hey, Mama. How you doing?
I'm okay. I'm comfortable.
You're comfortable. You look comfortable.
Yeah. They've been giving me tea and toast, and I even showered.
This is better than a hospital, isn't it?
Yeah, this is wonderful. And I've been here since 10 o'clock.
And you got your animal wrap there,
Yeah, I'm just listening to my book and resting.
For the remaining 2 days, the staff at Kubu Kubu took care of Mama like she was family. Fran and I have come to the conclusion that glamping was our preferred way of experiencing the Dark Continent. Having the opportunity to commune with nature while still maintaining a modicum of respectable creature comforts worked for us, and it might work for you too. We live in precarious times. The Earth's climate is changing and is rapidly approaching crisis stage. As a result, the once great herds of animals that roamed our planet are dwindling, some to the point of extinction. And it's on that premise that this trip was undertaken. The Masai Mara and Serengeti regions play host each year to one of nature's greatest spectacles, the Great Migration. Each year, mammoth herds of wildebeest and zebra follow the seasonal rains in search of more fertile ground, providing much-needed sustenance. And it's during this time the herds repopulate to continue the circle of life. The highlight of any African adventure centers around the game drive. This is where curious groups of nature's voyeurs, like us, take to small, rugged vehicles, seeking to learn about the wonders this continent has to offer. These types of safaris offer us the opportunity to observe these incredible creatures in their own environment. Unlike going to a zoo, we're invading their space. We are the trespassers. We must play by their rules. The incredible thing about game drives is that it's a total crapshoot. There's no guarantee you're going to see anything. But there's always hope that we'll be there to witness that fantastic Nat Geo moment where the fleeing impala is caught by the lightning-fast cheetah. But those shots are generally 1 in a million and are the results of hundreds of hours of mind-blowing boredom. For the most part, throughout Kenya and Tanzania, wild animals are protected, and many live in the relative safety of national parks and game reserves. We're going to be visiting 5 such sanctuaries during this trip. While the animals are protected, these places are not zoos. Nature reigns supreme, and survival of the fittest is the rule of law. As cute and as cuddly as lions appear, they will kill you in an instant if provoked. While we didn't see any actual lion kills, we did see the aftermath. There is definitely a hierarchy within the lion kingdom. Mama hunts and brings home the meal, while Papa is the first to eat. Mama and the kids only dine after Papa's been satisfied, and the remains become property of the scavengers, mostly hyenas, jackals, vultures, who then fight over the leftovers. The metabolism of the cheetah is such that when they are not devouring their most recent kill, they're on the hunt looking for it. These terrestrial speed demons are continuously on the hunt to satisfy their ravenous appetite as well as that of their young cubs. Tom was telling us that the cheetah are extremely curious animals and seem to be intrigued by humans. In fact, there have even been reports where these frisky felines have entered safari vehicles just to check things out. Baboon populate the Masai Mara in great numbers. This family-oriented species normally travels in packs, but on occasion they get out and explore by themselves. Unfortunately, at times they find themselves in a bit of a sticky situation. You would think by now they're aware that lions are able to climb trees. But after 10 minutes watching and recording this simian standoff, I got bored, and so did the two lion. We all left the area, and our lone baboon climbed down and rejoined his family and friends. You know the old adage, there's strength in numbers. Here, surrounded and supported by her family, is a little baby baboon having a great time taunting a female leopard. There are two things that we can surmise here. The first is that if that leopard tries to hurt that baby baboon, you can be assured that entire troop will descend on the leopard and tear it to shreds. Or, in all likelihood, the leopard has just eaten a large meal, is fully satisfied, and that baby baboon is merely after-dinner entertainment. It's March 1st, 2017. Just before dawn on Tanzania's Serengeti Plain. As night turns into day, the animals begin to stir. The air is dry and quite cool. Jackets are necessary. Today, we explore Africa from a new vantage point, in a hot air balloon.
Here we go, up, and away. My maiden voyage on a hot air balloon. A little nervous about this, but it looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. So I'm sure the next thing you'll see is that balloon just puffing right up.
By the time we arrived at the launch site, the balloon and its basket were already unloaded and ready to be filled. Powerful fans are used to initially inflate the envelope. Passengers take their position while the basket lies on its side. Once the envelope begins to fill, huge propane burners are ignited to superheat the air already within the envelope. Just before launch, I gave a second video camera to one of the ground crew. His job was to video our balloon from the ground point of view. The pilot continues to heat the air, and in just a matter of minutes, we silently lift off. The only sounds we hear are our whispers, and then the occasional blast of the propane burners.
Back to the main road here. This road takes you all the way back to Ngorongoro, and that ends in North Serengeti.
You really have no steering capability, do you?
Well, it depends. Actually, a little bit. It depends. Every day is a little bit different. But with steering wheel, absolutely not. But at different altitude, we usually get different wind patterns. So that's what we're used to as balloon pilots, is finding those different wind patterns every day, seeing what kind of steering ability we're given for the day.
Floating on a current of light wind just above the herds of wild animals is an experience that is deeply embedded into my memory. And as I view the vast, pristine landscape of the Serengeti, I am troubled as to how fragile this environment really is. Because we're traveling with the wind, there are no extraneous wind noises with which we must contend. As we continue traversing this vast plain, our altitude varies from just a mere 100 feet upwards to nearly 1,000 feet.
This is way cool. Cooler than I anticipated. I highly recommend, if you have the opportunity to take a balloon ride, you should definitely do it. It's a great experience. Number 1 on the bucket list.
Securely packed away in our vehicles, we head overland back to our base camp for our much-anticipated bush breakfast. But not without first picking up a flat tire along the way. Okay, as we start heading back towards our early morning breakfast, we're coming across the plains, and all of a sudden, we pick up a flat tire. Well, that's not just the good news. The really good news is that there's 3 cheetah over my shoulder that are keeping an eye on us. Let's just hope that they've already had their breakfast. With those 3 sets of peering eyes giving us the once-over, our driver succeeded in getting us back on track and moving again. Well, successful venture. Tires changed, everything's all fixed. The cheetahs stayed away. And now we're going to be heading back out and trying to get some breakfast. With breakfast about 10 miles away, the only way to get there was to take the scenic route. That meant off-road. What we didn't anticipate was that we would soon find ourselves dab smack in the middle of a massive herd of zebra and wildebeest. In retrospect, as we look back on this incredible adventure, off-roading in the middle of a herd of stampeding wildebeest certainly will be one of those memories that's going to stay with us forever. Deep inside eastern equatorial Africa is a seismic area known as the Eastern Africa Rift. Scientists estimate that between 200 and 300 million years ago, a massive volcano in the area known today as Tanzania erupted with such force, resulting in the volcano's cone collapsing into itself, thereby forming a huge caldera. Today, the Ngorongoro Crater is the largest intact caldera in the world, measuring 12 miles across and more than 102 square miles in area. Within this single crater lies one of the most diverse ecosystems on the planet. Virtually every environment, from an arid desert to a tropical rainforest, can be found here. With more than 25,000 large-bodied animals calling the crater its home, today, Fran and I will be descending almost a half a mile to the floor of the crater. Come with us now as we begin our final game drive in Eastern Africa. Now that Fran's bladder is good to go, we began our downward trek into the caldera. It's going to be slow moving for a while thanks to the heavy rains we had last night and that oversized delivery truck we're having to follow. Well, we finally reached the bottom of the Ngorongoro Crater. It's quiet. We have no wind out here. And as you can see, there's a very, very low cloud cover that is surrounding the area. In fact, it's so quiet down here, it's rather eerie. So far this morning, the radio chatter has been very encouraging. We just learned that a small group of black rhino have been spotted and are very close to our location. The Ngorongoro Conservancy is 100% responsible for the resurgence of the black rhino population. The use of 24/7 patrols has virtually eliminated poaching. From a low of just 2 black rhino in 1995, the crater now claims to have more than 20 black rhino and counting. A few minutes later, we spotted a rather large troop of baboon off in the distance. By my count, it looked like the troop totals about 40 and are headed off towards a wooded area about a mile away. Limo thinks he knows where they're headed, so we're going to try to head them off the pass. Meanwhile, Cape buffalo are grazing away without a care in the world. Once, as one of the most sought-after trophy animals, these magnificent creatures are now able to live the life that nature had intended. Just as Limo had thought, we found some of the baboon in a wooded area about a mile from when we first saw the troop. By the way this troop is interacting, I think it's fair to say that this subtroop may even be a complete single family. Make no mistake, baboons are smart. Just watch this guy break into the car next to me, only to find a human in the back seat. The lesson here, lock your doors.
Is there a monkey?
Yeah, it opened the car door.
Did it really?
It did.
Did the man get it out?
Scared the shit out of him.
Did it go in?
Yeah, went in. It didn't take but a minute before we came across 2 old but very majestic bull elephants. While for a second we thought they may be having some words, it turned out they were just having a little bit of elephant fun. And the Masai giraffe just can't get enough acacia leaves and thorns to satisfy their ravenous appetite. And without a care in the world, the zebra do what zebra do, eat and play, while the ostrich just doesn't care about anything. As we begin our trek across the crater to the dry zone, we come upon one of the few Masai villages inhabiting the area.
This is a Masai village located inside the Ngorongoro Crater. These people's jobs are to tend to the cattle that we see out on the mountainside. This is their job 24/7.
Before calling it a day here in the crater, we needed to check out 2 significant hippo pools located about 4 miles away back in the wet zone. We're at an area right now that's called the Hippo Pool, for good reasons. It's a big body of water that the hippos love to come and swim. But today, there doesn't seem to be a whole bunch of activity going on. Finally, a hippo decided to come out of the water and say hello to us. Hola, hippo. While the first hippo pool was a bit of a dud, the second hippo pool looked to be much better once I can get past the throngs of gawkers. Here, we're going to be able to exit our vehicles and get a much closer look at the hippos, just not too close. What started out as a rain-soaked, white-knuckled, muddy drive into the crater turned out to be a rather mostly sunny, temperate, relaxing drive back to our lodge. Tomorrow we begin the long, arduous, nearly 3-day task of returning to the U.S. But tonight, we will spend our final evening in the Serengeti at the Plantation Lodge and celebrate this incredible adventure with great wine and food. In the morning, we head to the town of Arusha for a quick stop at the Arusha National Park and then on to the border crossing at Namanga, where we will be re-entering Kenya. Fran and I consider ourselves to be quite fortunate to have had the opportunity to visit Africa, not once, but twice. We have been able to see and experience elements of natural life that are outside the reach of most folks. The planet Earth, from its inception 4.5 billion years ago, is in a constant state of change and evolution. Our physical geography and our climate have been and always will continue to change, and there's nothing we can do about it. But the human race, through our own negligence and selfishness, only helps in making the problem worse and in less time. It is incumbent on us to respect and help preserve life on this planet. There are solutions. I just wish I knew what they were. What I can tell you is that we will never, ever get there with world leaders who seek to profit on today instead of investing in tomorrow. I want to thank you for taking the time to let us share with you our experiences in Africa. Stay the course.